welcome to Devday Sri Lanka. This is Karthik Sirsnagandla. I'm going to talk with Johaonss Brodeall. Did I pronounce your name correct?
You did.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so I'm going to ask him a bunch of tough questions for us to see what is that we can learn from him. Johaonss, first question. This is your first conference that you have organized in Sri Lanka, am I correct?
Well, more or less. The first time I was in Sri Lanka, I helped organize a code retreat, which was really great. We had 35 very interested Sri Lankan developers right here at the Galadari Hotel.
Can you share some background of yours in the programming world? What is that you have tried, dabbled with? What do you do now and stuff?
Sure. So I've been programming for 17 years, I think now. So it's starting to, I'm starting to get pretty old, I guess. I've started getting interested in agile software development and especially extreme programming around the year 2000. And I've been organizing user groups and conferences in Norway and been speaking at conferences and working in different companies since then. And about 1.5 years ago, I joined ExcelSoft, which is a agile offshoring company right here in Sri Lanka, and I've been working here as the chief scientist ever since.
Okay, so it's ExcelSoft that brought you to Sri Lanka, is it?
Right. It's a long story, but that's the short story. That's the short version.
Okay. Today, your talk topic was bare knuckles web development, correct? I attended it. It was great. The demo part. I think doing this test-driven development in front of the big audience is difficult bit. How long did you practice for this?
My whole life.
Okay. For this conference in particular?
For this conference in particular, I ran through the performance 2 times for the whole thing. And,
just 2 times, is it?
Yeah, but I've done it previously at other conferences in other languages and so on.
What motivated you, take this thing for this conference?
So there's, I think, 2 main motivations with this talk. The first one is that I think a lot of people here in Sri Lanka and elsewhere have heard about test-driven development and are really motivated to try out test-driven development, but they don't really know how to apply it in their context, right? So you see a simple example like maybe the coffee vending machine that Naresh had, which was a very nice example, but not many of us are developing software vending machines. So the question for very many people is, how do I apply it to my context? And for many developers, my context is a application running on a web server serving users on a browser. So that's the first thing I'm trying to set out. The second thing I'm trying to set out is that we spend a lot of time trying to find what's the best new technology that we need to learn, the new framework, the new language, the new application servers if you're in Java. And we didn't spend, I think, enough time trying to become better at the tools that are already there and what we're basically forced to use on a day-to-day basis anyway. So the other part of the talk, I start with going over how to develop a web application test-driven, and the other part of the talk is I'm going down into the nitty-gritty of the web server mechanics and threading and different things like this.
Did you see any unanticipated challenges when you have gave your presentation?
During the talk?
During the talk?
Well, it took longer than I had expected, but then again, so it always does.
Okay, so you kind of knew the crowd, you knew kind of how to pull them into participation. Is that what it is? Right.
So I think that one thing that I noticed with the speakers in front of me was there were a lot of speakers who had a little bit of difficulty trying to engage the audience as much as they wanted to. And I've had some more experience with a Sri Lankan audience. So I know that if you just ask a question to the room, you will not generally get a response. So I had one unfair advantage and one trick that anyone can use.
And you're a familiar face in the community here.
Exactly. Okay. So I had a lot of people that I knew in the audience, both within ExcelSoft and outside. And I would ask them by name
Yes, I had to admit that, yeah.
So then you're addressing someone directly. This works much better if you give a simple question, but not an obvious one. Like, what should I call my first test method? That's a pretty simple but not silly question, right? And the second thing is to just, instead of giving the question to the audience, to pick one person in the audience who's willing to give you eye contact and then stare at that person until he answers.
And when it's techie thing, it's even more difficult, right? So yeah, right. Okay. So I think I'm done with it. So the next part of this thing, I'm going to, we're going to go through a lightning talks thing, and I'm going to ask you questions. You're going to answer as fast as possible. No excuses, no passes. Yeah.
All right.
You got to click that once you're done answering.
All right, awesome. I'm ready.
Okay. Okay. Your favorite language?
Java.
Language you hate?
None.
Oh, come on. None? None is not an answer.
All right. PHP.
Okay. Your favorite framework?
None.
There should be some framework that should have inspired you, right? So, nothing?
Well, jQuery.
Cool. Do you do TDD?
Yes.
Always?
No, I do TDD when I write code that I want to work.
What is Agile to you?
Agile to me is about feedback, and it's about and feedback has two components that we need to focus on. It is how to get feedback more frequently, like you said in your talk, shorter demos or shorter iterations give us more frequent feedback, and how to get more information from that, which is the risk if you have what I call a shallow demo. If you have a demo only inside of the team, that's a more shallow demo than if you can involve end users. So faster feedback and better feedback.
Awesome. Okay. Your advice to young programmers who are wanting to adopt TDD and stuff, who basically want to adopt Agile as such and their practices, what would be your advices?
I think the best place to start is to practice some code katas. And you can get, I think, XLE Magazine 2.0, which is the previous one before this conference, where I have a article about which katas you could start with.
Okay. One final question is, what's your favorite TDD framework?
NUnit.
NUnit. Okay.
With fluent assertions.
Okay. I'm done asking you the questions I wanted. It was real fun.